you doing over there? This is Pete again with Southwest Rod & Custom, and as you see, I'm wiring up this Vicky, okay? Getting all the wires put in, and what I'm going to do next, before I install the air conditioning and the rest of the wires and wire up the dash and put all the dash in and the steering column, wire the steering column up, because we're starting to get a lot of wires going here and we don't want to get too lost, is I got to insulate this firewall. Now, the point of insulating this firewall is to keep all the heat as possible from the engine out of the car. This is a fiberglass car. It's a small car, and it attracts a lot of heat. And what I use, if you look right here, it's 1 inch thick insulation with rubber padding on one side, just like you would see in a vintage antique automobile from the factory. Now, they also sell some insulation that's it has aluminum on one side and it's insulation, but it's only half this thick. And you can use that as well. I actually have this made, okay, at an insulation company, and they make it by the roll for me because I do a lot more than Streetbeasts cars. I also do antique restorations. But with the rubber on it, it's actually better if you have the rubber in front of the insulation, because that actually penetrates, that actually reflects the heat back into the insulation, and that's a solid that's a solid cushion there. It's a solid piece of rubber, so the heat won't penetrate through it. Now, the best thing for you to do is get yourself a scrap piece of paper and go ahead and stick it in the holes, and I try to make it as nice and clean as possible. As you can see, okay, then I take a marker and I trace it out. And you can also do this with the insulation that you buy, you know, the hot rod insulation. I'm sure you're all familiar with that. You can purchase that at any hot rod supply store, or even Lowe's or Home Depot sells that insulation. It's aluminum backed insulation. You can buy it at Lowe's and Home Depot just as well. So what I do is I trim that out like that. So then I cut it out, just like I'm doing now with a pair of scissors. And I always test fit my piece of paper before I go cutting before I cut the insulation, that way I don't waste it. And insulation is actually pretty hard to cut. It's not the easiest stuff to cut, due to the fact that it dulls your razor blades out and your knife very quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and test fit this in here, and I see it fits pretty good. It's good enough. What I'll do is I'll remember that it's a little bit shy. Now, if you notice, I already cut this piece out, so I'm going to fit it in there, and there you go. What I do is I fit all my pieces in here first, then I come back and I'll glue them in with some contact cement. And you can either spray that on, or you can get a throwaway brush, and I'll be showing you how. So what I do is I lay this piece down here, and I get it kind of, we already know the bottom of it's going to be square. Okay? So I lay this piece down just like that. I get it lined up as close as possible. And we've already test fit our piece in there. So we know that this piece is actually going to have to be cut a little bit bigger. So I'm going to bring that side out a little bit bigger. And I'm measuring up just a little bit. We're going to come down there like that, so that's all squared up. And then we're going to go... The next thing I do, once I trace that out on my insulation here, if you notice, I'm cutting on the insulation side. If I cut on the rubber side, what's going to happen is this knife, it's going to catch that jute and it's going to just rip it. It's not going to cut it. So you give it a nice firm cut, just like so. Keep your hands away from that blade. And cut down in there. And you can do this on all style of insulation. Keep your hands, always watch what you're doing. It's very important that you don't want to cut your hand with that razor blade with all the pressure that you're using on cutting. So we take our insulation out just like so. There it is. And then we fit it in there. So, you got your piece cut out, you measured it out, we've already fit our 2 quarter pieces in. This is actually a mirror image of the other side over here, so you just mark that and then flip it over and make 2 of those. And then, we're going to pop this in here, and I see it's just a little big. It's going to fit good on the sides, but it's a little tight up here at the top. If y'all can see that. Now, what I'll do is I'll trim this up. I'll get all the other pieces put in the vehicle down here. I'll get the sides done, I'll get the top done, and then I'll come back and glue them all in. Alright, now, I've got all my pieces cut out. If you look close here, everything's cut out. It's not glued in yet. Okay? So, once you cut all your pieces out, and one more thing, we're going to go ahead and insulate this area. Now, you don't want to use real thick insulation like this to put up here, because that's too heavy and it'll fall apart. What you want to do is, if you get your insulation at Home Depot, which you will be able to find at Home Depot in the insulation section, it's going to be approximately this thick right here. Okay, and that's about a 1/4 inch thick, and one of the sides will be aluminum. Alright? And like I said, you're building your car at home, you can use that. It comes in rolls of, I think, 48 by 48. One roll should do the whole dash. So what I do is, on the sides and upside down, I use the thinner stuff. And to glue this in, you can use the 3M adhesive spray, but I don't like that because the contact spray, and the reason I don't like that is because you're really not getting a good thick adhesion to the material. And I'm going to show you the proper way how to put this stuff in. And what you want to do is you get yourself some basic original contact cement. And if you look here, it's yellow in color. Okay, now the trick of putting this on is you get yourself a throwaway brush, get some rubber gloves on, and this is the trick for a permanent glue job. What you want to do is you get your glue, get it on there nice and thick, and you want to cover that area thoroughly. Okay? So we got that area nice and thick, if you look there. Then what you want to do, and I'm going to set the glue right down here, you want to take the piece that you're going to glue on there and do the same thing, nice and thick. Okay? Now you're probably thinking, okay, that looks great. Now we just stick it together and it's glued. No, you're wrong. What the deal is with our contact cement is we're going to actually let this dry. We're going to let that dry. What contact cement does is, once it's dry on there, it becomes, let's say, like a piece of tape. Okay? You know, the tape's dry, you know, sticky on one side, not sticky on the other, but it's dry. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're turning this in to a giant piece of tape. And once these 2 pieces touch each other, that will be permanently bonded on. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all my pieces in. I'm going to go ahead and put the glue up here. The only piece that I'm not going to glue in is this lower piece. Now, the reason I'm not gluing this in yet, okay, is because we still have to add, we have to put our dryer for our air conditioner unit on here, and there's some other little accessories that we're going to have to add to the firewall down low. And if we have our insulation on there, okay, we'll have to rip that insulation off to get in here to put the nuts and bolts on to hold all that together. If you have any questions, give me a call. Don't hesitate. My name's Pete, and I hope all my videos are helping you out building your car, and I hope that you have an enjoyable time. And make sure you check out all my other videos in detail. If you have any questions, look at the videos, check them out, okay? Most of my videos will give you all the answers that you need to know.